Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Eggburt, the owner of this station. Check out my website at eggburt.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, eggburt.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
John, I'm going to get myself in trouble right off the bat, but I'm going to ask you a question, and hopefully you know the answer, because the reason I ask it is because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Is today Juneteenth?
No, it's Wednesday, Brad.
Okay.
Are you being serious?
No, I somehow I had 17th in my mind, or what? Today's 17th, right? Yeah, 17th.
Today is the 17th. Yeah, no, Juneteenth is great this year because it splits up the week in the middle with a very serious day of I don't know what we're supposed to do that day. But and if you want to acknowledge it for fun, I think it's cute when people acknowledge Juneteenth.
Okay. I'm going to say something right now, which I cannot believe the area leaders. I can't believe that Sam Page and Tashara Jones have not locked arms in this and have stood on I-70 facing to the west. They should have the Missouri Highway Patrol stop Interstate 70. They should have both Tashara Jones and Sam Page, maybe right there at Goodfellow, where it turns into, that's sort of the, if you know, on I-70, that's where the city ends and the county begins, whichever way you look at it. They should stop traffic, have a press conference, and say, look to the west, and they should, in unison, say, we've got almost $750 million, and Kansas City Chiefs, we've already got a dome. Come on over.
Oh, I like that plan, Brad. Now, wait a minute. Hold on real quick. We wouldn't accept the Royals, right? We'd only take the Chiefs.
What? Well, we can't accept the Royals because that would be against Major League Baseball unless we demoted them to AAA and moved them out to like T.R. Hughes and
which is a possibility. It's Car Shield now, so show a little respect to your friend. But yeah, but what you're saying is recruit the Chiefs because why not?
See, the interesting thing is, I don't think I've heard one stinking politician talk about this. If you know the whole deal, the Kansas City legislature, there's a deal that goes on all the time. And if you know the geography of the Kansas City area, the Missouri boundary between Missouri and Kansas to the north of Kansas City is the Missouri River. And the Missouri River at that point in time pretty much flows due south until it hits Kansas City, and then it makes a left turn if you're flowing down along the Missouri, and it makes a left turn and it goes east and comes obviously to our part of the state and ultimately empties into the Mississippi River up in North County. But on the southern part of the metro, once you get south of the downtown area, there is no natural barrier between Kansas and Missouri. I mean, literally, you can be driving along. 1 minute you're in Missouri, the next minute you're in Kansas City. Yeah. You're in Kansas State. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, there's a road that goes north and south. It's actually called State Line Road because...
State Line, gonna take my bet down to State Line Road.
Right.
Go ahead.
On part of the road, it's Kansas, and the other part, it's Missouri. Okay, Kansas has for years, very successfully, I might add, enticed businesses to move from Missouri into Illinois, sometimes as little as a mile or two, coming from southern Jackson County, which is the county that Kansas City's in, over to Johnson County, which is the county that is immediately to the west of the southern part of the Kansas City metro. And my sons lived there for a while in Lenexa, and quite honestly, all the nice areas, and I say nice, I mean like the Ladue kind of areas of the Kansas City metro are in Johnson County. You've got Leawood, you've got all these fancy places over there, and that's where the money's at. So the Kansas State legislators have constantly tried to draw businesses. Now they're trying to get the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals, because if I'm not mistaken, the lease on both of their properties comes up, and there was a controversy about a tax that was supposed to be renewed or something like that. We talked about this earlier this year, didn't we?
Yeah, and voters turned it down, and maybe that was April, or it was March or April.
Right.
April,
And essentially it was a tax that it was sort of like a zoo museum kind of tax, where it gave money. Essentially, it gave money to the Chiefs and to the Royals. And
that's right.
you know, and once again, it's would you love to have a business where the taxpayers pay you to stay in business? So
it wouldn't be bad, yeah.
Yeah. So why is there nobody saying, "Hey, we got a dome. It's ready to go. We don't have to do anything." And you know what? We already have a base of Kansas City Chiefs fans here. They could be the St. Louis Chiefs.
Yeah, that's quite true. However, first of all, I think it would take a lot to work out a deal with the battlehawks, because I think when people think of the TWA Dome, TWA Dome, the TWA Dome, people think of battlehawks immediately. They think of some of the classic games that the battlehawks have had. That's number one. Number two, I think everybody in the metro region, although bringing the Chiefs here is a good idea, I think we would all agree that reparations are a much more important priority. And, that reparations group, they're totally going to meet their timeline and not ask for more money. So once we settle that this fall, Brad, then I think we can make an effort to get the Chiefs. But until then, let's think about priorities.
Well, no, John, seriously. Hold on, I got a cough here. It seems like an obvious shot is, if you want to keep the Chiefs in Missouri, just move them east, right? Simple as that.
Yeah, I think now, jokes aside, I do think so. For example, over the weekend, last week, when Governor Parson was on Scott Fawn's midweek update, talked about the idea of what we would have to do to keep the Chiefs in Missouri. So the Chiefs are going to end up staying in Missouri. And I don't think there's an appetite for Missouri leaders to, instead of moving the Chiefs from Kansas City over here, I think Missouri is going to pull out all the stops to keep the Chiefs in Missouri, and they're going to keep them in Kansas City.
I think that's a big mistake. Okay, next topic to talk about. Okay, I checked it again last night. What is the deal on the Riverfront Times? The website is frozen in time. The last update was now, I don't know, a month or so ago. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, but from what I've heard, Brad, there is new content on there, but it's like AI generated. So I haven't bothered to visit and click on anything. But I have seen former employees of the Riverfront Times tweeting about the fact that there's local content is AI generated. So in other words, they'll just take what a lot of these, info factories pump out and then place it on the Riverfront Times. Now, I think what you're getting at is there's no original content that's been uploaded to the website.
Okay, I'm looking at the website right now. The story that has been up there, it's still from May 22nd, okay? Today is Juneteenth, didn't I say that? Is that what you say, Juneteenth?
June 17th.
June 17th.
Yeah, Juneteenth
okay.
is Wednesday. Yeah, so you're looking at, it says Jane Smiley's new novel.
It's the same stupid story. The home page is exactly the same thing. Their second page on here is about Kate's Zone Chinese cuisine, May 22nd. It's like the website is frozen in time. The third story on the front page is the same thing, May 22nd. Thirsty has become...
Click on events, Brad. Hold on. Click on events and see what you see.
Okay, but why would you not... I can't find events. Where's events? I see arts and...
It's at the top toolbar, yeah, and it'll say closed for maintenance, essentially.
Latest music. Okay, latest music by Daniel Hill. The best concerts in St. Louis this week, May 9th to 15th. John, I don't know what they're updating, but it sure is not any of the content. I mean,
well, this goes back to, and I think that what we've discussed before too, Brad, is because that this company acquired an asset. I'm sure they're still figuring out what to do with it, and so they're not going to take the website completely offline because, as you've mentioned before, Brad, whatever small nickels and dimes they get from click-throughs of ad programs or syndicated content that they have, they want to keep that up just for search engine optimization purposes. They don't want to yank everything down right away. But I can't speak to what the folks who purchased whatever the private equity firm that purchased the RFT have no idea what their plans are or where they're going with this. But you do see at the top an ad for one of these, I guess, the folks that like to use CBD, THC, OPP, yeah, you and me. Like, they still have prominent banner ads on here, so they're still getting click-throughs.
I believe that's the same stuff they've always had on there. I remember those banners on top anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But that would be one of the assets that would be acquired when you purchase the Riverfront Times. You would get the existing advertising contract.
Let me give you an example. Let's say somebody bought Channel 5, okay? Mm-hmm. And, announcement came out that, hey, Channel 5's been bought. And the last day, let's say today was the last day of Channel 5. And they just took like a air check, or they recorded the entire day from start to finish. They started out with the Today Show, and then they had Today Show 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they had, Show Me St. Louis, and then they had all the local programming, and then they had the 4 o'clock newscast, and the 5 o'clock newscast, and the 6 o'clock newscast, and the 10 o'clock newscast. And then,
and then they record it and then get to it.
And they played it tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. After about 3 or 4 days, people go, this is the same crap from Monday. And pretty soon the audience would go away. Why would you destroy a site that had active viewers to it, that had active participants that went to that Riverfront Times site for their style of news, for their entertainment? And, and they did have a very successful internet site, have had for years.
And what's the alternate? What would you suggest to them, Brad?
Well, if you're a private equity firm, okay, and you got money, you hire some people. And once again, the way things are nowadays in media, they don't have to be from St. Louis. They could be from Poughkeepsie, New York. They could be sitting in their underwear down in Austin, Texas, and stuff like that. I mean, the way things are right now, that if John Combest, let's say John Combest, let's say some very high profile Los Angeles-based Hollywood actress, some very gorgeous actress, one day woke up.
Yeah, go on. Sylvia Sweeney, go ahead.
Sylvia Sweeney. And she, just by perchance, found out the JohnCombest.com site. And she says, oh my God, who is this John Combest? And she starts just going ape, what over you. And she becomes obsessive with you. And one day, a knock on the door, and there's a guy like in a butler uniform, and he says, Mr. Combest, Sylvia has beckoned you to her house in Hollywood. The limousine is awaiting, and we have
I like this. This is realistic so far. Go ahead, I'm bought in.
We have a chartered jet for you out at Spirit, and you don't need to pack anything because we will have all your
I'll be doing a lot of packing out there. Go ahead.
All your clothing necessary. We already know your size, and
I bet she does.
We're flying you to Hollywood, and would you say, hold on a minute, I can't go because I have to stay and update JohnCombest.com.
Well, I update my site, so there's a factual error here because I update the site from everywhere in the world. But go ahead.
Well, you just made my point. You made my point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, you could do it from anywhere. Now, I would suggest, Brad, but I hate to interrupt this fantasy because it was great, and I might swap her out with Dua Lipa. But to get to the particulars of it, I'm sure there's been somebody in a meeting at whatever private equity firm purchases. Again, I don't know the name of it. But I'm sure they've had a conversation about, hey, is there a way to pull in a news feed of St. Louis news or something like that? And somebody said, not worth the time. Who cares? We're spending our time and resources based on X. I doubt that the people at the private equity firm are in a hammock right now in the Hamptons thinking about when their next boat ride is. I have a feeling they've given some thought to this and that there's clearly a better option than putting somebody in charge of updating when the next pothead get-together in Tower Grove is going to be, or when they can write a story about imaginary racism in city government or something. I'm sure somebody's thought of that.
Well, John, you being in business and working for a big Fortune 500 company, at one point in time, wasn't Monsanto like Fortune 100? Weren't they that big?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. You know about the brand, the value of a brand, okay?
I agree with you.
The value of a brand is that if you don't maintain that, I mean, let's look at the whole crazy story with Bud Light. I mean, how they were trying to essentially
and they destroyed their brand. Now, wait, I don't want you to lose your own point, which can occasionally happen on the show, Brad. So
Thanks,
the RFT has been in business, 40 years roughly?
Something like that.
So they've spent 40 years building a brand. I don't believe that being out of commission for a fiscal quarter would kill the RFT brand. And I think if you're a pothead or you're a local music enthusiast or you're an angry liberal and the RFT comes back on September 1st and says, yes, this brand has been AWOL since May 22nd, We're sorry we haven't told you who's playing at the flavored vaping room of Potheads down in Tower Grove, but we're back. Look at our robust concert section. And by the way, we have more stories coming out about men prancing around in dresses. I think the liberal progressive audience will continue to come back to the RFT.
Now, hold on a minute. Were you talking about Riverfront Times or StLouisPR.org?
I think there might be a merger in the works, Brad. I think that St. Louis Public Radio might use some Corporation for Public Broadcasting money, purchase the RFT, and then they can be united. Like, why not? I heard a rumor that the project is called Finsky Fest. It's hashtag Finsky Fest, and it's the unification of St. Louis Public Radio with the RFT.
Man, I'll tell you what, John, you're
I'm
right.
just telling you what I heard, Brad.
And by the way, thanks for all your backhanded compliments. I do appreciate them.
Well, you do have a tendency at times because, and Brad, here's the thing: anybody who has a friend who has a whole lot of really good ideas in a short period of time, we've all talked to a friend who tends to interrupt themselves, and we have to gently get them back on track so that you have a lot of great points that you make, Brad, and sometimes you interrupt them with other great points, but we want to hear the original great point. You get what I'm saying?
You want that OGP, right?
That's right, the OGP.
OGP. He's got the OGP. He's got the OGP.
Yeah, you know me.
OGP. Okay, we have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?